Post-labor economics is a theory about how the world will evolve after artificial intelligence becomes cheap enough and widely available for everybody to use. But I have a different take. I think that we need to talk more about reality of how it could be used, how it could be implemented, the challenges that will be faced with that. I have a reactionary point of view to David Shapiro's take on what it is labeled for post-labor economics and what it looks like to have some of the elements of that flushed out in a real theory. So I want to add to the conversation. I want to see if you have any input as well. Drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching this video from. And let's get this started. So again, welcome to our in-depth analysis of David Shapiro's controversial post-labor economics theory. As automation and artificial intelligence continue to evolve at breakneck speed, we face profound questions about the future of work, economic systems, and society itself. Over the next 12 slides, I'm going to examine what's realistic versus what's speculative about post-labor economics. We'll tackle the automation wave, economic paradoxes, inequality concerns, potential solutions that I've tried to add to the conversation, also based off of a couple of things that might be proposed in the atmosphere today, and whether or not, if you're worried about your job or just curious on the economic theories that are presented here and planning for the future. This presentation is supposed to be a very technical, in-depth analysis for the critical insights. So I'm going to hope to also add a lot of these points to the Academy. If you haven't joined the Academy or you're interested in knowing more about that as it gets put together, feel free again to connect with me for the description in this bio and check out any of the other videos that are being put up as we keep going along. Anyway, as we get started here, I wanted to make sure we covered the analysis of the BFCS imperative, or the better, faster, cheaper, safer imperative, where machines outpace humans. So at some point, we are saying that AI systems, not just a particular model or anything like a ChatGPT, but AI systems that are put together from processes and different components that even may have multiple AIs or AI attached to it, those now outperform humans on certain cognitive tasks, including coding, language translation, and specific knowledge work. So they would also be able to do that faster, right? Machines process information and complete tasks at a speed impossible for humans to match at that point. They're also cheaper. The price of artificial intelligence models has been going down drastically as of late, especially as competition heats up across the market. So OpenAI's advanced O3 model and O3 Pro models are both now available, I think, for the actual Pro plan and team plan or enterprise plans, as well as through the API. So that provides a lot of access to developers, and they have also slashed, I think, the price by 85%, which dramatically increases access to the particular model. So safer, AI doesn't get tired, it doesn't get distracted, and with the infrastructure in place, it makes very few errors. And so it doesn't make human-like errors. It makes better decisions based off of data. When machines achieve all four of these criteria, David Shapiro, has argued that replacing human labor becomes economically inevitable. While conceptually sound, this principle faces practical hurdles in implementation, integration with legacy systems, data quality issues, regulatory compliance, and the need for human oversight. So I believe, with this kind of time frame, we can be very specific, but in the last 5 years, rapid AI advancements, reality behind the hype. From 2020, AGI predictions centered around 2040s to 2050s timeframe. This has been rapidly changing. So in 2022, ChatGPT launched. It accelerated the AGI timelines dramatically. In 2023, experts started to change their beliefs on AGI, believing that the time frame was 2030s at that point. Today, many people are starting to believe it's even sooner than that. Sam Altman, even the person who runs, the CEO who runs OpenAI, who made ChatGPT, has predicted that OpenAI might be able to complete what we could consider AGI before 2020 or sometime early in 2026. So Where does that put us? The conversation is obviously just beginning, but these timeline estimations have changed dramatically, as you can tell, right? So, while AI advancement has surprised even experts, practical changes have remained. Today, AI excels in narrow domains, but lacks robust common sense and reliability for unrestricted real-world use. Early autonomous vehicle deployments, such as Tesla and other brands, for instance, hit complexity barriers and saw slower rollouts than optimistic timelines promised. Across the industries, across the sector, we've been seeing, an impact literally everywhere. Automation across the industries has been big for software and IT, finance, customer service, transportation, from code generation tools like Cursor, Windsurf, Replit. Testing and debugging increasingly has been handled by AI, dramatically increasing the number of tasks that can be completed by senior to mid-level engineers, which then has a trickle-down effect on how many entry-level engineers are hired, where that is usually the playground up for an entry-level engineer to really get started and learn how to get their job done. So if these things are not available, like the opportunities are not available for entry-level engineers to work on because artificial intelligence has mastered a lot of these tasks, you're going to see a decline in the number of engineers employed in that particular field. Whereas in finance, plenty of people have started to pick up, even for novices or people who are not considered experts in finance, they've started to pick up algorithmic trading, operating with very, very minimal human oversight. I've worked on a couple of trade bots. I have one that's available on one of my repositories. I'll probably add a link here to this video, try to give some people a head start to see if maybe you want to work on something as a project. If you're a junior engineer and you're just looking for something to get started on, I will, drop a comment, let me know if you're interested in that. But from customer service, everybody has a chatbot now, right? Increasing percentage of customer inquiries are going through chatbots. You go to a website, you call center, everybody has a chatbot now. And transportation has been a huge adopter. So self-driving technology is quickly improving, using artificial intelligence in specific domains with like trucking and delivery. And then warehouses are increasingly using all of these technologies to advance their robotics program. So the automation wave has been hitting different sectors and phases. White collar fields like software development, customer service, and finance are already seeing significant disruption. Physical automation in transportation, manufacturing, and even skilled trades is expected to accelerate through late 2020s and the 2030s. Okay, so for the post or past revolutions versus today, what has really been observable for us in these situations? Historical automations have primarily been mechanized by physical tasks. So physical labor about what could be accomplished from human strength, just literally picking up, a thing, moving it over here, created new job categories when those things were disrupted, required human cognitive oversight for planning and strategy for like where those things were going to go, how transportation sort of worked, how logistics worked up to that point. It took decades to really fully implement those things. And even to this day, there are a lot of these processes like cloud-based deployments and architectures that have taken off. Those things are based on the required human cognitive oversight, but they are highly, automated. So increased overall employment for folks who worked into that group, myself included. I benefited from cloud-based technologies and work kind of growing in that aspect. David Shapiro contends that this revolution is fundamentally different because AI can potentially handle general problem solving and learning, outmatching humans on a broad front. Previous technologies mainly automated specific manual or repetitive tasks, whereas AI threatens to encroach on uniquely human capabilities like creativity and emotional intelligence. So there are quite a few people who feel that music, art, these things untouchable, won't be, messed with when it comes to, AI or machine learning having an influence here. I can't necessarily agree because, again, we do see a lot of evidence that these things are increasing their level of complexity to a place that creativity the real spark of ingenuity, that might be something that can be automated. So the AI revolution, specifically, we're seeing like automates cognitive or creative tasks. It really will impact white collar professional jobs. It is learning and improving continuously already. They're deploying at an accelerating rate with these models and these applications, and it will potentially reduce the labor share of income for human beings. Not, any other species is affected by that. So it's really just us, the income share, that is affected. So the folks who are in the working class. Enterprise AI adoption, the reality on the ground. So this is really going to start delving into my particular background and specialties. So again, make sure you kind of, if you feel we want to engage or want to talk, you can follow me on any of the socials that you can find in the description here. And I would love to, engage and have those conversations. But really, the integration challenges start with legacy systems having compatibility issues. I mean, we're like across the board, even to this day. This is something I'm facing to this day with businesses and organizations that I partner with as a consultant. Folks are using systems that are just far, they're not upgraded. They don't have any sort of bandwidth to be able to use and implement these new solutions. There's data quality issues and standardization issues as well. Those are, these are huge milestone or huge barriers to being able to get over to that next step of using artificial intelligence on your architecture. So regulatory compliance requirements, that's, needs really nothing else to be said. We've talked about it on our AI news playlist that happens on this channel for YouTube and TikTok, that federal and state regulatory issues are going back and forth, and that's just not a quickly solved thing. Explainability and transparency demands. There are really no prevalent ethical or regulatory bodies that are requiring explainability and transparency. So are we going to see companies provide this for us? Probably not. Return on investment and maintenance, high upfront implementation costs. There's ongoing system maintenance expenses, need for specialized AI talent, and technical debt accumulation. So there's an immediate kind of cost to getting into the game, to playing this particular level of, let's say, ball when it comes to artificial intelligence. And there just seems to be quite a limited pool of talent, which I can completely agree with. My schedule can be very jam-packed. I've heard nonstop that, scheduling just with me can be kind of frustrating. And so that, I think, is a reflection that there's just not enough people, which is why my company is also working on the academy. So if you want to check that out, that'll be posted up coming up soon. We'll have more chances to talk about that as well. I have ink on my hand. I don't know how that got there. No, obviously I do. It came from a pen, but, dad issues, I guess. So anyway, the human factors that come up with enterprise AI adoption, customer preference for human interaction, that needs, little to explainability as well. Customers tend to really care for human interaction, but I am interested to see how this changes with more advanced models hitting the market from the voice capabilities, input, output wise. So this will change, I think, over time as well, when folks are just not able to recognize whether or not they're talking to a robot. Liability concerns for fully autonomous systems, social responsibility considerations, employee resistance, adaptation challenges. Building AI that is reliable, secure, compliant enough for business critical operations remains non-trivial. Many organizations report a significant gap between AI prototypes and full production deployment, with issues like model bias, unpredictability, and integration difficulties slowing adoption rates. Okay, so the demand paradox, who buys when jobs disappear? David Shapiro definitely talked about this as well. He warns of what he calls the economic agency paradox. If automation eliminates wage-based employment, so employment where you receive a wage, you actually get paid, people lose purchasing power. So undermining the very economy that automation is supposed to fuel. This creates a potential death spiral where no jobs, no payback, no paychecks, no customers all equal themselves, even if production becomes extremely efficient. So companies will be looking to cut and to automate cuts. Companies will look to automate and to cut costs, improving efficiency and profit margins with technology. Workers are going to clearly be displaced, and that would be losing income sources. And then consumer spending falls and economic contraction on a global or a national scale. So the economic agency paradox that David Shapiro talks about kind of gives you a very specific highlight that, without proper planning, regulatory guidance from those who are in positions to make these influential decisions, there's very limited positive expectations until we can get these things in place. Will new jobs offset the losses? Okay, so this data, I'm going to present this data on my website, and I'll try to embed this as well. This is based off of deep research that was performed by OpenAI's O3 Pro model, and also like a backing or refinement of Perplexity's system based off of the Claude 4 Opus and the O3 model. So really like 3 different workflows that basically would go and check the same data and then kind of maybe, check themselves. This is one of my techniques as a workflow that I use. I really like to employ. And so this is a graphic to kind of show you the overall picture that was taken back that I've discovered. So, what you take from here, please just keep in mind that this particular video or this data, you can go find it, and I'll definitely post it, but it is also searchable if you were to use your own deep research method and kind of go with it as well. So will the new jobs offset the losses? Again, from data and AI jobs here, we're going to see quite a few jobs that are immediately lost here. And then the jobs that are sort of gained, I think, in that, apologies, backwards. So the jobs that are created are in kind of the darker gold or darker yellow. The jobs that are lost are in the lighter, very bright yellow here. So if you are just observing here, data, AI, kind of looks like there'll be the fewest jobs lost in artificial intelligence, data-based jobs, tech-adjacent jobs. That doesn't mean tech jobs. I think we want to make sure I clarify that. There are plenty of tech department jobs that could still be affected. Sales and marketing, manufacturing, customer service, and administrative work. Administrative and manufacturing clearly have the most room for a major effect to really take place there where those jobs are lost. And displacement, seeing that there could be quite a few gained here in the data and AI and sales and marketing. But are these folks able to move from these categories, from manufacturing, from customer service, into sales or into data? That remains to be seen. That is obviously talking about retraining, and so supporting for those folks on that. Who owns the bots? This is a pretty good question. Inequality explosion. I think it's important that we have this discussion that the top 1% financially in the country are actually the ones who own the automation technology. So they're really the ones who get to call the shots on how it's deployed and how it's used. Then you'll have a class of people created that will really just become skilled tech workers, those who program and maintain these AI systems. And then right under that, we could consider the class of service providers, where jobs that artificial intelligence cannot replace effectively live. And then lastly, as we move into this class, you'd see a class of folks established that would kind of be referred to probably as the displaced. And these are clearly just the former workers who have skills that are considered obsolete now because of artificial intelligence and the wide usage and adoption. So, In a post-labor world, economic agency shifts to those who own capital, the AI, robots, data, and intellectual property. Currently, the bottom 50% of U.S. households hold only about 2% of the nation's wealth, while the top 1% hold nearly a third. Without intervention, this gap could and probably would widen dramatically, potentially creating a form of techno feudalism. And that has been addressed several times throughout the tech community up to this point as well. So the social fabric at risk is more than just tech disruption, but work and income being disturbed by this. Folks really find their identity from their job. Work provides a personal identity and social status that defines how we see ourselves and others in society. Our purpose for these jobs, for structure, goals, and meaning that give direction and fulfillment beyond financial compensation, contribute directly to the sense of community, where we have created social connections, friendships, and collaborative environments that combat isolation. And that in turn gives us agency over our situation, that sense of control, employment over your entire life, where you have financial kind of destiny, a financial plan, and skills that can reinforce the plan, and development and advancement. So beyond economics, work serves critical social and psychological functions. Regions hit by widespread job loss often experience higher rates of depression, substance abuse, and social breakdown. In a future where large portions of population are not needed for productive labor, finding new sources of meaning and becoming and belonging becomes crucial to maintain social stability. So, from reimagining income, a big topic about income is universal basic income. On my TikTok channel, we have a couple of videos that have gone pretty viral, just talking about the topic of how you feel about universal basic income and what is to happen on the next step and levels here. 60% of today's labor income, is really dependent on national income. Scrap that. So today's labor income percentage of national income currently derived from wages and salaries is 60% of total labor income. So of everything that this country kind of accumulates for income, we say that more than half of it, 60%, the majority of it, comes directly from what people get from their jobs. Capital income, meaning the investments, the cash that are in these investments accounts that are growing, or just the company shares that you have from investments, property, and business ownership. That's 20% of what we see right now as well. Government transfers, percentage of social security, welfare, and other public programs. That's really only 20% of our income as a country. So David Shapiro proposed flipping our income model. Instead of 60% from wages and 20 from capital and 20 from transfers, we could shift to an economic model where 20% only comes from wages, 60 from capital and ownership, and 20 from transfers. So this would require democratizing capital, ensuring average people have stakes in productive assets of the future through mechanisms that are like community wealth funds, patronage equity, data dividends, and platform cooperatives that could be established. So quite a few of in-depth details that I thought were actually great features that David Shapiro was talking about. So go follow his channel if you haven't actually paid attention or know any of those in-depth points. And I'll try to, think about how I can point you in the direction of those videos as well. But so check that out. So solutions and scenarios, kind of the navigating path going forward. Advanced AI creates abundance while policies ensure broad ownership and prosperity. People enjoy creative pursuits, short weekends, or short work weeks, and financial security through shared automation benefits. That could be an AI-driven abundance and equity plan. When it comes to the techno-feudal dystopia, we could use AI to advance ownership that stays concentrated in the group of the many and not in the small elite hands that we were talking about for the 1%. So should the 1% still retain their ownership group, nothing really changes, I think, and maybe it becomes easier for them to form suppressive techniques. So, the future isn't really determined, but it is rapidly approaching. The policies we implement now will shape whether automation leads to widespread prosperity or deepening inequality. By embracing solutions that broaden ownership and provide economic security beyond traditional employment, we can create post labor economic principles that work for everyone. So, um, this is really the first of many conversations around kind of, I think, my just feedback, my reaction to what David Shapiro said. And I obviously, I think there's a lot that I agree with in what he kind of talked about, but I think there are elements of it that make the adoption of these plans almost kind of like not possible. And so I wanted to be able to just provide more context to this discussion. And so I hope, you're able to kind of pick something up from this. I will add more, context to this. I can do some more videos if this is of a particular liking, if people are interested in knowing about this. And we'll talk more about universal basic income and what those plans would look like as things are continuing to change going down the line here. So I hope you stuck around for the video to kind of learn about this. If you could, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on the socials as well, connect with me. You can find more information in the description about other ways that we can get in contact if you have questions and want to learn more about my business. But I hope to see you soon, and thanks for joining. Bye.